Hey, what's up, Delio T2K here, coming to you with a video about how to design a talkbox patch on a moog sub phatty analog synthesizer. Let's go right into it. So I got the active panel, so that way you can kind of follow along. What we're going to do, we're going to try and zero out the synthesizer first. So over here in the envelope area, I'm going to take my attack down to 0, the K down to 0, turn the sustain all the way up, turn the release all the way down to 0. And what I'm doing, I'm zeroing out. Same thing with the amplifier envelope. Take the attack down to 0, the K down to 0, turn your sustain all the way up, turn your release down to 0. Okay, let's open up the filter all the way up. Let's turn the multi-drive setting all the way down to 0 there. Turn the resonance down. Let's take the envelope generator amount up to 0 and keyboard amount, take that to 0. Let's zero out our mixer. Take oscillator down to 0, sub oscillator to 0, oscillator 2 to 0, noise generator to 0. That's oscillator number 2. Let's turn it to 16 feet. Take the frequency down to the center, and we'll just set that to a saw wave on the wave. Now we're on oscillator number 1. Take that down to 16 feet. And let's set the dial to the saw wave pattern right there, which is typically your basic setting for a nice saw sound. And as far as the modulation, pitch, and stuff like that, make sure your pitch is in the center. Glide rate, you can adjust that to flavor. Alright, so what we got here is a saw wave, and I've got it hooked up to my top box, and we should theoretically hear just a plain old saw sound coming through the top box. And we hear nothing. Why do we hear nothing? Because I got to turn it up in oscillator 1. So let's turn oscillator 1 all the way up to 10 or to 12. And let's turn the master down and see if we get a sound now. And I got a sound. Okay. So that's basically how you build a basic talk box patch with this synthesizer. Obviously, you know, this is a monophonic synthesizer, so you don't have to worry about switching from mono to poly or anything like that. So, for instance, we are taking over. We are taking over. So if I want to add a little sub oscillator to that and make the sound a little bit fatter. We are taking over. Makes it a little bit more growly. We are taking over. And, you know, in case you want a more of a coarse effect, then what you can do, you can match your oscillators to both 16 feet. And let's start to mix in the second oscillator and see what kind of sound we get. Not much different yet, but watch what happens when I change the frequency of the second oscillator, the pitch frequency in reference to oscillator number 1. So you do get kind of a different sound there. You know, when you push it up to 7 semitones, you get kind of a much more pronounced sound and stuff like that when you're trying to build a talk box patch. But we can bring it back down. We can actually fade it in and mix it. And let's add some sub oscillator to that. You can really make some harsh, it depends what you want to do, what you're in the mood for. So obviously we got pitch bend, which is obviously set to plus or minus 2 semitones. So if I push the pitch bend up, it's going to go up 2 semitones, which D is 2 semitones up from C. Alright, so let's add some modulation. Let's clean it up. Let's clean up the patch a little bit, get a basic saw. And let's go ahead and switch the modulation source to a saw pattern. And we're going to turn the LFO rate to about 1.5 there, depending on how you have it set. Your rates, it depends on how fast it goes, which is a hidden function. Alright, and so theoretically, if I have all the sort directions for the modulation go, we should hear no change when I hit the modulation wheel. Right. Now let's see what happens when I add pitch. We'll turn the pitch up to about 4 and add some modulation and see what happens. So now we've got some vibrations going on. So let's speed the vibration up. And what you heard right there is I turn the LFO rate up, and as you can see, the light is letting you know what the LFO is doing. And then I just turn the pitch amount down to about 1, actually, to 1, which is a good amount right there. We are taking over. So we got a nice little sound there. Let's add a little sub oscillator, make it fat. And you know, you can slide and have more fun with it. So let's slow down the slide, the glide rate. And that's what I love about analog, is that you hear no degradation of the saw sound. Any direction you go, whereas on a digital synthesizer you will hear some of the aliasing in the saw pattern if you listen for that kind of thing, which I do. So yeah, but that's a talkbox patch done on a sub phatty. I don't think anyone will need a file for this. I will send it if you have the sub phatty librarian software. And if you really want the patch for a nice talkbox, let me know. I'll put it up on the website, trying to get more active this year. So with that, that's a talkbox patch on the sub phatty. We are taking over. We are taking over.